This is Tom Manos here with Gmod, and I'm here with Spyke still from Mythic Entertainment. And I just had a few questions for him on the gaming aspect of things, from more of a gamer's perspective, because I played Warhammer. During the preview weekend, my brother and I were playing, and at launch there was certain graphical, there was certain blurring in the graphics and things like this, and we were wondering if there was going to be noticeable graphics upgrades or options at launch.
We've got an entire engineering team dedicated just to graphical performance. That specific blurring effect that you're talking about is a bug that we've been tracking down that I'm pretty sure we have a fix for right now. As well as other options, we are adding in some advanced options for people that are more familiar with them, as far as anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering, things of that nature, that will be able to go in and be able to modify that themselves to better make the visualization within the game itself work better for whatever their hardware is.
Perfect. And just a few more specific questions. So in WoW, they had this thing, I hate to compare everything to World of Warcraft, but in World of Warcraft, they constantly were, coming out with new seasons of gear and the new best thing, and it would make the gear from the prior season completely, it was irrelevant. There was nothing good with it. So I'm wondering, with the public quest gear, the dungeon gear, is that going to be something that you can use up to a certain renown rank, or is it at a certain renown rank, is that all going to become obsolete?
Well, the gear itself kind of intertwines back between the RVR and the PvE aspect. So even the gear from the highest dungeon in the game, from Lost Vale, is pretty high up there. It's around the equivalent of some of the higher end Tier 4 RVR gear.
Okay.
So we try to make it so that we understand that some people like just the PvE aspect of the game, so they can go up that path and still have an area to compete with. And on the RVR side as well, you can gain the gear that has some similarities, or in some cases there's some mixing going on. You can get some gear on one side, some gear on the other, and be able to mix and match sort of how things go. The RVR side of things does go higher than the PvE side. The gear in the Lost Vale effectively is the highest ranked PvE gear you can get. Everything else past that is required through the city captures, through the sub-boss encounters, and the king encounter itself. So it is something where, yes, if you're in a Lost Vale set with some of the RVR sets, and you start doing the king encounters, or you start doing the sub-boss PQ fights in the cities, yes, you will be replacing some of that Lost Vale gear. You're replacing it through, like the king encounters, things like that. That's something that we have clearly defined out there. That's something that makes, very numeric sense. It's very much an ABCD, type situation. As far as continually adding additional content to invalidate what's there beforehand, we don't really have any plans at this time. Is that the king gear is effectively the best gear in the game. Will probably stay the best gear in the game up until whenever the first expansion hits.
And this is because in World of Warcraft they're constantly coming out with new content and feeling like they needed to do this, but what Warhammer is trying to do, they're just trying to get the gear, you can get the stuff, and you can go out in PvP. Is that correct?
Correct. Since it's all realm versus realm based, we wanted ability so everybody had a similar chance of getting the gear, but giving you a reward system such that the realm that actually is able to capture the city, able to do that stuff, can get something slightly better for their end result.
Excellent, thank you. And all right, and one more question is, okay, and obviously Warhammer Online has talked a lot about it's a PvP team-based, well, RVR-based, team-based game, and guilds are obviously going to play a huge role in this. So what tools does your living guild system have to facilitate the formation of alliances and such things like that?
Well, within the guild system itself, obviously, your guild lives and grows as the players within inside the guild grow as well. But a similar concept we had in Dark Age of Camelot with alliances. The idea is a grouping of guilds. It helps bolster the community on a specific world, on a specific server as it goes. What ends up happening is, so on the side of, let's say, Order, for example, you can have a couple of the top guilds would form an alliance. What ends up happening is that, gives them access to basically chat channels, things of that nature, so they can better communicate. It's to help better facilitate the actual warfare aspect of the game. So the idea is that something's happening, destruction's going after a certain keep or a certain area within Tier 4 in one of the pairings, the alliance could put the call out to basically say, hey, so-and-so is going here, this guild's going there, what do we need to do? And it's almost kind of, you can think of it as like a military aspect of communications, chain of command sort of concept, where you have the alliance and the guilds within inside of it will have specific roles and things of that nature. So we will have an alliance system, we'll be able to communicate back and forth, and there will be additional information within the game for that, to help facilitate that communication between the guilds and the alliance to help your realm and your side.
Okay. And one more question is, do any of the abilities, when I played the game, I noticed that DOTs, HOTs, all these things stacked, but as far as auras that affect people outside of the group, for example, the Chosen, are those abilities going to be able to stack?
To be quite honest, I'd have to actually ask one of our combat and careers guys.
Okay.
I do know that it is something we take into account every single time we do an ability, is whether or not it stacks with itself, whether or not it stacks multiple times, whether or not multiple characters, like, 2 different Chosen, whether it requires 2 different Chosen or a single Chosen to be able to stack of that type. As far as the specific Chosen auras itself, I'm not actually sure exactly if you have 10 Chosens, what their auras will end up doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Spyke, and this is Tom Manos with gmod.com. Thank you.